Good morning, sports fans. You're listening to 96.9 FM WHYR LP Baton Rouge Community Radio.
This is Eric Hatfield along with Coach Perry Daniels, and we are here to bring you the latest, the greatest, the best, and the most entertaining in high school, college, and professional sports. You are listening to Louisiana All American Sports.
Good morning, folks. This is the Louisiana All American Sports Radio Show coming at you live. I'm going to go ahead and jump into high school sports. Real big action last night. A few upsets around town. It's amazing how close District 3A is and District 7 3A, classification 3A. District 7 3A is so tight. It's amazing. Well, let's start off last night with Brewley's upset over West Feliciana in District 7 3A. Brewley High now 14-14, 3-7 in that district. West Feliciana was running away with the district, and then all of a sudden they just hit a roadblock. They lost to Port Allen. They lost to Parkview Baptist. No, they lost to Port Allen U High. And now they lose to Brewley to fall into second place there. They did get a little help that I'll get to a little later on that helped them out last night. So Brewley, one of the bottom teams in that district, pulls off a huge upset. Capital defeated East Feliciana 73-65. Central beat Broadmoor 56-45. Donaldsonville beat Berwick 83-44. Dunham over Estroma. Let's kill the music. Dunham over Estroma 74-48. Family Christian beat Jehovah Jireh 74-58. Glen Oaks beat Baker 55-43. Another upset in that District 7 3A race. Holden defeated Marpol. Scotlandville. The Scotlandville Hornets are amazing. Let me tell you, their record right now is 30-1. They are 10-0 in their district. And the Scotlandville Hornets, this year's Scotlandville Hornet team is nowhere near as talented as the previous two state championship teams. Coach Sample and his coaching staff are doing a phenomenal job with this team.
But, Scotlandville is, they're always going to be tough. But, I mean, this year, this is where COACHING comes in. It's all about coaching. And he's doing? He's taking these guys who might not have the success and the pedigree of the last two teams, but he's building them up and pushing them in that direction.
And when you're 30-1, your confidence level walking into gyms sometimes wins you games. Games that... I've seen this team play a couple of times, and there are times when they're not the most talented team on the court. There are times when they're not the best coached team on the court, but they find ways to win. And that is just an outstanding credit to the Scotlandville program and Coach Sample and his staff.
I think this team can practically walk right into the top 28 again.
They may very well do that. And again, with less talent than they've had the last 3 years.
Right.
So Terra defeated Bel Air 68-58 last night in our own gym. Heartbreaking. Woodlawn defeated Sanoma 67-41. Now, District 5A, District 5A is almost as tight as District 7 3A, where last night you had McKinley pull off the victory over Catholic High.
Yeah.
And Dutchtown upset East Ascension, which knocks East Ascension back into a tie with the McKinley Panthers and the Woodlawn Panthers, sitting atop of District 5-5A.
Well, actually, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, but didn't McKinley's win last night put them in sole possession of first place?
No, they still have 3 losses, and Catholic High has 4 losses now, but Woodlawn still only has 3.
We need to, okay, let's talk about McKinley and Catholic last night. That was last night's game, brought to you by Louisiana All American Sports.com last night, live and in living color. Really good contest. The final score of that game was 46-30, but the score was not indicative, really, of what happened in the basketball game. That game was very, very close until McKinley unleashed a flurry of 20 points scored in the fourth quarter. But that game really was back and forth and back. The key, once again, we're noticing a pattern here with the McKinley Panthers, is defense. They only gave up 30 total points. In the first quarter, Perry, they gave up 3 points. Wow. 3 points in the first quarter. And I'll tell you what it is. You look at the way that McKinley plays defense, it's one of those things that does not jump off on the scores table, but you know what it's like? It's like the perimeter is like an invisible force field, and they just got it locked up. And you got to come with some super force or something out of a comic book to penetrate. And what it left Catholic with, and what it's left other opponents with all year long, are 3-point shots. Standout last night though was bad. Keon Brown, number 15 for McKinley went off. Of course, there are always going to be hustle plays and defensive plays and taking charges. He did that, but he went off in the fourth quarter with 9 points in the fourth quarter, 14 points overall. Mind you, McKinley only scored 46 altogether. Outstanding effort there. Of course, Marquise Kegler, got his with 7 points, and was, every time Catholic tried to come into the lane, they were turned right back away by Marquise Kegler and Keon Smart and those big men down there. A couple of standouts for Catholic, though. Michael Francione, Thomas Barfield, and Michael G. Orlando, did all they could to keep Catholic in that game. Like I said, it was pretty much, the second and third quarters were pretty much dead even. The difference makers in that game were the 3 points that McKinley squeezed out of, held Catholic to in the first quarter. In the fourth quarter, they just poured it on. It was like a deluge.
Yeah, and at the high school level, man, it's all about defensive pace. And it sounds like McKinley has a tremendous defensive pace going. Anytime you can hold a team to only 3 points in a quarter.
Right. And a good team, decent team.
And a decent team. Well, yeah, Catholic has a decent team. They're a little down from their previous
But didn't they sucker punch McKinley earlier in the year, if I remember? I think they knocked McKinley off at Catholic.
A few teams sucker punched McKinley.
Yeah.
We talked about that, how they were getting caught off guard and losing games that they should have won.
Right.
They have clearly been the most athletic team in the area, even more athletic than the Scotlandville team.
Right.
But they can't beat Scotlandville.
Right. Well, the difference is they cannot put points on the board the way Scotlandville does. I mean, McKinley they are points in the paint kind of team. They do have Russell Daniels is a good shooter from around the perimeter. They have that young fella, but he's diminutive. He's only about 5'8". Everything else is inside the paint with McKinley.
Right. So, again, that's not bad based on their makeup, the way the team is built. They want to get the ball inside.
Right.
So, it's going to be interesting to see. There should be one more district game in that district, and it's going to be interesting to see who pulls that district title off. You've got 3 teams with 3 losses, Woodlawn, East Ascension, and McKinley. And one of the teams will be the district champ, maybe a co-district champ, and they may have a playoff. They may decide no need to do that because all 3 teams should make the playoffs.
Well, my money's on McKinley for all it's worth. I like what I see in the Panthers. I would like to see them put a few more points on the board, but by this point in the season, you are what you are, and it's working pretty well for the Panthers.
Exactly right. Rounding out the high school report, Dunham stays atop the 2A rankings, and they defeat Astruma last night, and that makes Dunham 10-0 in their district, 11-0 in their district, 25-4 on the season. So that's a team that can go a long way as well.
Absolutely.
So that's going to round out our high school reports.
Area code 225-343-9927, 225-343-9927. If you'd like to get in on the conversation, you can talk about some high school basketball. Of course, you can talk about a lot of stuff from the world of sports. We're going to talk about college basketball, some LSU, of course, Southern, as always. A little bit of NFL news, even though the season's over. A lot of NFL news, actually, which we'll get into. But anyway, look, give us a call, 225-343-9927 here on 96.9 FM WHYR LP Baton Rouge Community Radio. You are listening to Louisiana All American Sports. Play it.
Go.
Okay. I don't remember Trick Daddy including any operatic music into his arsenal, but hey, I guess we are all about culture, so nothing wrong with that. But let's just get right down to the nitty gritty. Let's talk about boy, oh boy. Let's have a conversation about some local teams here. Let's talk about our LSU Tigers. Now, last Saturday, they went and they played the Auburn Tigers, and they played the Auburn Tigers at the PMAC. Of course, we expected LSU to win that game. Auburn is not very good, period. They have one of the worst records in the SEC. Then all LSU had to do on the road was go to woeful Texas A&M, which was not very strong at all, riddled with injuries. And lo and behold, that road warrior that LSU is more like a road wimp, and the road monkey jumped on his back again. LSU losing to Texas A&M 83-73. Johnny O'Brien apparently didn't realize this was NCAA basketball and not the video game basket brawls where you could punch your opponents freely, because he got into foul trouble very early. I'm not saying he punched anybody, don't get it twisted, but he got into foul trouble quickly. 2 fouls in 9 minutes, and when Johnny O'Brien's not in the game, defense, forget about it. Post play on the offensive end, forget about it. He is the straw that stirs LSU's drink, and as soon as he was neutralized early with foul trouble, they were in a whole lot of mess. So that did not go well for our LSU Tigers. Now, this afternoon, they play the Arkansas Razorbacks. LSU is on the road again, but they are at Bud Walton Arena. That game is going to be televised, by the way, at 4 o'clock on ESPNU if you want to see the game. Arkansas is only 4-7 at SEC play. Now, a couple of weeks ago, we mentioned that they were, after losing to LSU, that would have made them 3-28 in their last 31 games. They lost another game on the road, but then they picked up a win against Vanderbilt. So I guess they're trying to, shake that bugaboo off them a little bit. But still, and actually that was kind of impressive that they won at Vandy at all, because Vandy is not, a walkover team. Their last game was an 86-85 loss to Missouri. Here's the deal with Arkansas. They score a whole lot of points. They average over 80 points a game, but they don't play. They're the opposite of McKinley. They don't play any defense. And they don't crash the boards. They're not very large inside the paint. They kind of get pushed around. LSU, for all their ups and downs and inconsistencies, assuming Johnny O'Brien's in the game, they will crush you in the paint. They're one of the best rebounding teams in the country, averaging 41 a game. And LSU puts up 78 points a game. So LSU, really looks good on paper statistically against a team in Arkansas that looks bad on the floor. And even though they're going at Bud Walton Arena, I expect, Perry, LSU to take the Arkansas Razorbacks down in their own building today. I think that's a road win that LSU can manage.
Yeah, I'm not exactly sure of that. The one thing that I am sure of is that the best college basketball team in the Baton Rouge area is in North Baton Rouge. And clearly the Southern University Jaguars are playing very, very good basketball. It's a shame that we don't get a chance to see, when Southern has good teams, them play a mediocre LSU basketball team.
Ooh.
So it's going to be real interesting to see how that pans out. Unfortunately, with the loss to Texas A&M that LSU suffered Thursday night, they are really not in contention for any meaningful postseason play. And I say good.
So you think? You think Southern could take LSU?
Southern could run it.
Ooh, that's straight fire. 343-9927, 225-343-9927. You heard that, Tiger fans. Perry thinks, shame on you. No, I think I know who that was. That wasn't somebody shocked and amazed, stunned and appalled at Perry's proclamation. I don't think Southern could beat LSU, but I do think Southern is playing excellent basketball right now. They are doing the things that they are supposed to do. The things they're supposed to do. We have a caller on the line. Is that the professor?
That's the professor.
All right. We have Professor Johnson on the line with a recurring segment we've been bringing you all month long in February. It's our Black History Month. So let's jump right into it with some Black History Month. Go for it. Professor, you there? Hello.
Professor Johnson.
Oh, he should hear us now. Professor?
I can't hear him.
Hello?
Sir, yes, sir. Good morning. Good morning.
Good morning, sir.
How we doing today, gentlemen?
Super
Fantastic.
fantastic. Who do we have today, sir?
Gentlemen, we have the distinguished Williams, a local product, a hometown boy. Aeneas Demetrius Williams, a former cornerback and center who played for the Arizona Cardinals and the St. Louis Rams for the NFL. Played his college football locally here at Southern University. He was actually born in New Orleans, Louisiana, and attended the now first year. Aeneas was a very prestigious player. Despite only playing 1 year in college, Aeneas' numbers impressed the Phoenix Cardinals so much that they selected him with the third-round draft pick in 1991. Williams quickly established himself as an exceptional rookie, tying the NFL record for interceptions. By 1997, Williams had already notched 4 Pro Bowl appearances and established himself as a top cornerback for the NFL. Williams also led the Rams to a Super Bowl appearance against the New England Patriots. However, they lost. One of his more infamous plays, he's given credit for the staggering blow that contributed to the ending of the career of Steve Young with the 49ers. So your boy was a hard hitter. And I would be remiss if I did not acknowledge the fact that this brother is also a distinguished member of the Alpha Psi Fraternity Incorporated, the devastating and death-defying Peppermint Players. So strong shout-out to Brother Aeneas Williams for being elected to the Hall of Fame recently.
Awesome job. Awesome job, Professor Johnson. Despite the erroneous mistake that he and you made. But it's all good, man. Nothing but love for the brothers that are doing positive things like yourself, like Aeneas Williams. That's a tremendous accomplishment. Make it into the Hall of Fame, man. One of a few Southern University Knights that have made it into the Hall of Fame. It's well deserving. He came at a time where the SWAC was producing a tremendous amount of talent. Also on that team with him, man, was like Maurice Hurst, who ended up playing for the Indianapolis Colts.
That's right.
There were a couple of others that were on that team as well. So thank you for that, man. A lot of people don't realize how our local product has made it good out of New Orleans, now in the NFL Hall of Fame.
Now in Canton, Ohio.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
To be.
Right.
So,
Yes, sir.
hopefully they'll put a cane in there with his bus.
Yes, sir. Thank you for those extra embarrassments. I don't know if that's
Professor,
that being acrimonious or not. I don't know where that's coming from, but I'm going to accept it.
All right.
Professor, thank you as always. We appreciate it.
Gentlemen, have a blessed day.
You too, sir. Wow. Well, I'll tell you what, I love, like I said, as I said, I think it was last week or the week before last, I love the difference in the historically black fraternity experience. It is for life. You know, I saw Perry's temples pop out a little bit. I thought he wanted to take a peppermint stick and snap it over his knee right now when he mentioned Kappa Alpha Psi. That is awesome. Aeneas Williams was a bad mother. Shut your mouth.
He was.
You know.
Man, he was.
Area code 225-343-9927. 225-343-9927. If you'd like to get in on the conversation on Louisiana All American Sports.
Eric, before we jump back into that, man, let's go into our Southern University basketball report. Since there's not basketball to report with Southern, there's actually, here's a team that is doing well this year, women's and men's, and now we're hearing that they may not qualify for the SWAC tournament based on an academic issue that the administration has not followed up on. So that would be tremendously disappointing to those kids and those coaches of those programs, the athletic director, whoever else from the Southern University administration that needs to get the NCAA the data that they need. And, this is based on the NCAA is saying that not that Southern is ineligible, but they can't determine whether or not Southern is eligible based on the data provided by the administration.
Now, Perry, I have a question. I know I've kept up with the story as best as I could. I knew the Southern's women's program had some serious problems this year. Are you telling me this is matriculating over to the men too?
Oh yes, as well as some other spring sports, but because the other spring
Not
sports,
baseball.
Yeah, well, but they have time.
Oh, I got
See,
you.
they have time. You only have 25 days before the SWAC tournament. So because of that, the Southern University basketball programs are the one in the largest jeopardy. There's no telling what may happen there. And that would just be a shame, as well as they are playing this year. And they just came off of a academic suspension or academic probation. So now they're back, and all they have to do is supply the data. And the data may determine that the program is ineligible. But we don't know until they get proper data. So it's going to be interesting to see how that pans out. I'd like to see Southern get to the SWAC tournament and do their thing there. I think it'll be a very competitive SWAC tournament, and Southern may be they will be the favorite because they're going to be the conference champ. So we'll see what happens there.
We have a call on the line. Kenny, he'd like to give us some feedback, and I think it's actually something nice. Kenny, can you hear us? You are on the air with Eric Hatfield and Coach Perry Daniels.
Oh, okay, thanks. Well, just that one guy says he called somebody a bad mother, shut your mouth.
Yeah, that'll be me.
Like that's one of the coolest things anyone's ever said, I think.
Man, that's good. I'll tell you what, I mean, sometimes, look, I appreciate that, and I'm glad, thank you for listening. Sometimes sometimes I say some smart things, and sometimes I say some dumb
I
things.
didn't hear you talk that much, man, but you seem like a smart guy, too.
Everything Perry says is smart, though, but sometimes I just can't stop talking. I'm glad a good one came out this time. Kenny, I heard you tell me over the phone you don't listen to any sports, but you're listening to the show. This is, could you just tell us about that? Do you kind of lock into 96.9 and rip the knob off?
Okay, I can't. The reception isn't that great. Can you say that again?
I'm sorry. I said, do you? I heard you say over the phone that you don't really follow sports much.
Oh, I mean, honestly, man, music was always I worked at KLSU and I've been in a lot of bands. So the reason I listen to 96.9 is music.
Oh, are you a loyalist to 96.9? Do you lock it in and rip the knob off to this channel?
Sorry, what was that?
Do you lock into 96.9 and rip the knob off? Do you tune into Baton Rouge Community?
Yes, of course.
Okay, awesome. Kenny, thank you so much for calling, and I appreciate the feedback, man. You have a great day.
Oh, thank you. You too.
That's awesome. It makes you, like I said, it always makes it feel like it's worthwhile when we have nice things. This Kenny said he didn't even watch sports.
And you know what, Aaron? We have to keep that in mind because I think a lot of our listeners are that way.
Right.
And so sometimes we're explaining things under the assumption that they kind of know what we're talking about.
Right. We talk like super fans.
Right.
And we don't necessarily have super fans. We have a lot of loyal listeners who who are the reason 96.9 FM exists, the reason we're on the air.
Right.
So look, y'all, if we start getting too technical, if we start talking rocket science, you call us and put us in our place.
Let us know.
But that was a bad mother shut your mouth call. Thank you so much, Kenny. I appreciate it. Perry, go ahead, man.
No, we were done with the Southern University situation. So hopefully they'll work those things out to where those kids can get what they deserve. And if they fall ineligible, they're ineligible. But at least don't let the lack of turning in the data.
Right, I mean, that's so, Perry, that makes me angry, man. I mean, to hear that, it really does. And people that listen to this show know I'm an LSU guy, but I like, local athletics, and I think that young people, amateur athletes, who are busting their butt, they're not getting a paycheck for this, they're working their way through school, they're giving something back to the community, and it's another example, Perry, of the administration across town, dropping the ball and letting down their students. And
here's what's really sad. I know that there are expert researchers on Southern University's campus. So one of those professors, one of those researchers on campus knows how to interpret the data, collect the proper data, interpret it, and submit it to the NCAA. And I don't think that the NCAA is asking Southern to interpret it.
No, just give it to them.
But my point is that those researchers on campus know what the appropriate data is. Now, maybe the athletic director doesn't know. Well, he's not quite as qualified as some of those other folks. Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh, man, I'm red in the face when I hear stuff. That's really disappointing because we've been talking about Southern all year and they're doing some good things. I really, let's go ahead. Boy, oh boy.
One thing, I know you
no, go ahead, Perry.
But we forgot on the high school report. Madison Prep failed to Christian Life. For the 2 out of 3, Christian Life has beaten Madison Prep.
Right.
And Jonathan Stove scored 38 points. And now Christian Life sits atop of that 1A local district. And now Madison Prep's in second with 2 losses.
Right.
They seem to have lost to Southern Lab.
They lost the first game against Southern Lab. The second game against Southern, the return matchup was actually at the Southern University campus in Seymour Gym. There were at least 500 people that Perry, standing room only. That was Louisiana All American Sports.com's game of the week for Tuesday night. Great game. Madison Prep won 58-45. Brandon Sampson is, God, that kid is blossoming so much. But I'll tell you what, with Christian Life and Jonathan Stove, I bet you that Coach Jones in his man cave has got Coach Dale on a little dart board, and then Jonathan Stove to the side. And he's just throwing darts at him all the time.
Hey man,
because he's got Coach Jones's number.
Jonathan Stove dropped 41 on us. So in our gym. I will say that he's a tremendous athlete. He's going to ULL. Madison Prep was lucky that R.J. Herzog did not play in the first game.
Right.
They would probably have an additional loss.
With that tall young man. So great action going on in District 1A, man. So let's look LSU. Let's hammer this down. LSU. They have Arkansas today. I think they're going to win. Terry thinks they're going to lose. They have next week.
No. I didn't. I did kind of insinuate that. I do think LSU will pull out a victory in Arkansas because of that Arkansas team is so bad.
Right. Can't play D. You can't win.
Right. But I think it'll be a very, very close game. I think these two teams are very compatible.
I agree. In kind of different ways. Yeah. Mississippi State is who we have in the middle of in our midweek game, and I apologize, I cannot remember if that's a Tuesday or a Wednesday game. But MSU is 3-8. That game is they're 3-8 in the Southeastern Conference. That game is in the Pete Maravich Assembly Center. That is on February the 19th. I cannot remember which day of the week that is. That's a Thursday. And then they have to go to Kentucky on the 22nd and play at Rupp Arena. That's not going to end well. So those are, I think they beat Mississippi State. I think they get crushed at Kentucky. College basketball around, going around the country.
Speaking of Kentucky.
Oh yeah, we got a big game. Perry, I keep forgetting to have the clip programmed in.
We'll work it out.
Florida number 3 at Kentucky number 14. University of Florida has won 16 straight games. Florida's one of those teams. They really they're like McKinley. If Coach Dotson's listening, I hope he's giving us some props. They're like McKinley. They put a circle in that perimeter and lock you out. It's like an invisible force field, like Star Wars or something like that.
Right.
But they play great defense, great team defense, and they force teams to take low percentage shots. They're not very overpowering in the paint. Kentucky is beastly in the paint. Kentucky is getting hot right now. They had kind of a lull earlier last month, but they are so physical down low, and Julius Randle is really feeling his rhythm. 16 points a game, 10 rebounds per game, and I think Kentucky is going to win at home today against the Gators. I'm
going to go with. I can't believe I'm about to do this.
Oh, no, you're not picking. I thought the big blue was in your blood. You told me that.
It is. Wow, I got to think about this one, man, because my heart is telling me go with that blue.
Right.
But my mind is telling me that Billy the Kid's going to have his kids ready to play.
Oh, look, Billy Donovan. Billy Gillespie's another bad mother. I said Gillespie. I'm thinking about, Bill Gillespie is a character on In the Heat of the Night and was a coach in the SEC, got run out. Billy Donovan, what is wrong with me? Never underestimate the value of a good night's sleep. But that's another bad mother, shut your mouth in the coaching world. And it is with coaching, Perry. If you look at the stats, I mean, this is like, remember how the Miami Dolphins had the no-name defense back in 72? It's another Florida team with a host of no names.
Right.
Irving Walker is no longer graduated, moved on. Kenny, can't remember his last name off the top of my head, but the point is they don't have the big names like they had in the past, but they are smothering on defense and they get it done and putting up enough points to win.
And because of that, I am going to go ahead and go with Florida.
All right, I can feel you on that one. University of Memphis, number 20 at number 24, UConn. Memphis beat Gonzaga last week, and they really outplayed, outcoached, outmanned, outphysical the Gonzaga Bulldogs. Superb fundamentals. They move the ball. This is something something Memphis did not do when Coach Calipari was there. They move the ball really well. I mean, if they pass it, and if they don't have the open shot, they just pass it to somebody else. They are a good offensive team with ball motion and X's and O's. UConn's the opposite. They do a lot of ISO. They take a lot of jumpers. They don't crash the boards aggressively. And here's the telling stat with UConn. With Connecticut, They lost to number 7 Cincinnati and number 18 Louisville. Memphis is battle tested. They've won. They've done favorably against their ranked opponents, beating Gonzaga. There were 2 other games in the schedule they won against ranked teams I can't recall. I'm going to take Memphis, even though they're going on the road to the Connecticut Huskies.
Well, I'm going to say that was a huge win last week by Memphis over Gonzaga. I realized that Gonzaga wasn't, they're not in the top 10. They're not in the top 5. They're good, but they're not a basketball team,
and they're not a major conference team either.
Right, but they're a good basketball team. And even though Memphis was at home, Gonzaga's used to playing meaningful games on the road.
Oh yeah, they had to. That's why we know who they are.
Right. So for Memphis to pull that out, they've kind of converted me. You're going to hear in the I Told You So that I was not a believer in Memphis last week.
I went easy on you.
But I am going to say that this week I think they continue their momentum, and they do pull out the victory against UConn.
Well, I think so. A couple of stories out of college basketball this week. Syracuse is not playing a ranked opponent this week. I looked at their schedule. They're playing a game they should win easily, but they played Pittsburgh last week, and the Pittsburgh Panthers gave them all they had, and those Syracuse Orange still came out undefeated with, I think, so far, college basketball's, boy, if it's not the play of the year, right now it's play of the year, as Tyler Ennis went Tyus Edney. Check this out.
Ennis, 2 seconds. He'll get a shot off on the way. Got it! He hit it! He hit the shot! Syracuse wins it! Syracuse at the buzzer!
And this is why Jim Boeheim continues to go to this guy over the stretch. He's the guy most capable of advancing, and he knows he's watching the clock the whole way up. He knows he's got about 3 dribbles and money for the freshman.
Goodness gracious. On the money.
Grant is allowed to run the baseline. He does go under the basket. Looking up court. Hits Ennis at 3-quarter court. Couple of dribbles at midcourt. Eyes on the timer. 40-footer for Ennis. For perfection. They got it! They got it! Perfection in Pittsburgh! The Argent one to the peak. They're going to look at the clock. Jim Boeheim says it's good, and we're going to 24-0.
So with Syracuse trailing, Tyler Ennis hits a 40-foot 3-point shot to win the game. I've been talking all year about CJ Fair, and Jeremy Grant. But Tyler Ennis, his star, he's been present all year, but that super freshman has put himself right to the forefront of college basketball stars. Perry, right now, unless Syracuse suffers an injury to one of those 3 players, I mean, they're going to have to beat themselves in the big dance. I think they're going all the way.
They may possibly do that. The basketball season is so long and the grind is so hard. That's kind of tough to say. You kind of want to see them lose somewhere, especially in that Big E. Well, they're no longer in the Big
ACC. Yeah, right.
Yeah. Well, I was about to say that the Big East tournament always has a few upsets in it. But fortunately for Syracuse fans, they're in the ACC.
Or unfortunately.
Or unfortunately, because it's a deeper conference.
Right.
So, I don't know, man. We'll see. We've got a whole lot of stuff to get to. You got some more college basketball?
One more story out of college basketball. We'll jump into the I Told You So segment.
Yep.
But Marcus Smart, you heard about that last week.
Yes.
I'll just, for those of you in the listening audience, Oklahoma State University has a spectacular sophomore named Marcus Smart. He's a point guard. They play in the Big 12 Conference. They played at Texas Tech University last week. Late in the game with Oklahoma State trailing, Texas Tech had a player, went on a fast break. Marcus Smart ran from behind, tried to block the layup, ended up fouling him. That was pretty much the end of the game at that point in the final seconds. Marcus Smart's momentum carried him over the baseline into kind of that front row of courtside seats, where a 50-something-year-old superfan named Orr, Jeff Orr, I think his name was, who's an air traffic controller from Waco, decided to call Marcus Smart some choice words. Now, depending on which account you believe, Mr. Orr said he called him a piece of crap. Marcus Smart said he dropped an M-bomb. But either way, Marcus Smart gave him a tiny piece of his mind, a little shove, and he was livid. You could see the look on his face. So Marcus Smart got a 3-game suspension, and to his credit, he owned everything. You don't touch fans, no matter what. Unless they touch you first, you don't touch fans. But what does this say about our society that we have a 50-something-year-old man calling a teenager a piece of crap, in a sporting event? And this is not his first go-around. He's been on ESPN acting a fool before.
Yeah, silly mortals.
Here we go.
That we have to understand that, at the end of the day, that's just a game. And, no one knows who... Most sporting events are meaningless in the big scheme of things.
That's right.
So to come all worked up and to talk about people's heritage and their ancestry and
names,
right?
Call a teenage boy names.
That's ridiculous. Get a life. I hate this spectator mentality that we are developing. Yes, I am a sports talk show host, and I get it. However, there are more important things in my life than to sit up and watch someone else live their dreams.
Well, not for this nincompoop. He says, I don't hunt, I don't fish. My hobby is Texas Tech, and he goes all to the football, basketball, baseball games. What a loser. That's all I can say. Get a life. 343-9927, 343-9927. Just because you buy a ticket doesn't give you the right to act an animal.
On the other hand now, Marcus Smart, you have to keep your head when all about you are losing theirs and blaming it on you.
Right.
You've got to control your emotion.
Yeah, you don't touch fans. It's really that simple. Unless they come on the court and attack you, you don't touch fans. So I told you, Marcus Smart. And by the way, here's what we're going to say. I told you so, and you can tell us I told you so in our regular segment.
I told you. What did I tell you? Didn't I tell you? 'Cause I told you. And when did I tell you? A long time ago. And what did I say will happen when I told you? Exactly what just happened.
Right.
So they have Auburn University coming to town. Auburn University, far and away, is was one of the worst teams in the SEC, I think, right there with South Carolina. LSU should dispose of this Auburn Tigers team fairly easily. Now, there are a couple of top 25 matchups. Number 10, Michigan, going to number 17, Iowa. These have been two teams that have very, very quietly been playing some very good basketball.
So I'm on the bandwagon now. I like this Michigan team, and I'm going to go with them this week.
I definitely, and I'll tell you what, and I agree with you. I'm going to go with Michigan over Iowa.
No.
Also, we have number 24, Gonzaga, which is playing some really good ball. And they won it's either last night or night before, but they won big earlier this week. Anyway, they are playing Memphis today. They're going to Memphis. Memphis, a traditional powerhouse. They're not gangbusters this year. I'm going to take Memphis because they're playing at home, but Gonzaga's playing, they're playing great basketball. We have Noel Jackson, Music Satisfaction.
Doesn't Peyton Manning know in the Super Bowl it's hut pass, not puff pass?
Welcome to Heart of Sochi in
Oh, bless the hearts of those reporters in Sochi, Russia, because, it's real. It's real. Got snowboarders bashing out the doors to get to the events. Anyway, we have a lot of news. The NFL is becoming a year-round thing because even though they're not playing ball on the field, they're always making headlines. And one of the biggest headlines that was made over the weekend was that University of Missouri defensive end Michael Sam, the reigning Southeastern Conference Defensive Player of the Year, announced that he is a proud gay man, which means, his draft status has been somewhere between the 3rd and 5th rounds. There's some concerns about his size and speed, but assuming he goes where drafted, and everybody needs a pass rusher, assuming he makes a roster, which I'm sure he will be the first openly gay active athlete in any of the 4 American team sports, because when Jason Collins came out last year, he hasn't played another NBA game since. It was after the season was open. So Michael Sam will be a trailblazer.
Actually, there was a baseball player with the Los Angeles Dodgers back in the 70s who was openly gay. The Dodgers did not re-sign him.
Burke.
Yeah,
died of AIDS. Yeah, yeah. They invented the high five. Yeah,
yes.
Yeah.
So the history, our historian Professor Johnson would be remiss if we didn't get that part of history right. So, but this is a huge story, Michael Sam's.
Yeah.
Huge.
Yeah.
One coming out of the SEC.
Right.
Defensive Player of the Year, supposedly the toughest conference in the nation.
Right.
And here we've got a gay man.
Yep, and then of course the Twitter sphere exploded. This is what look after the Marcus Smart thing. Marcus Smart was like a brief. Now normally when player shows a fan, that's all people are talking about Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. But Michael say you have all your usual sides. You're gonna have your people who think it's about time, and I think it's about time we find a way to get past this. So hopefully, my personal hope is that he comes out, he goes on, and this kind of goes away, and it's not headline making in the future. But look, there are people. There's some folks that say, why is this a big deal? I'm tired of hearing about it. Why is this a big deal? Just be gay and play. I'll tell you why it's a big deal. His father, for example, forget about alienating yourself from teammates or wanting acceptance. Your own family can turn on you. His father told the New York Times, quote, he was eating in Denny's, and when he got the text message from his son saying, "Dad, I'm gay," he was so unnerved that he had to put down his Grand Slam breakfast and go to Applebee's and start getting liquored up at the bar. He said he had to go to Applebee's and have a drink. Then, later in the week, he tried to cover his footsteps and said he was taken out of context, as if to say, he said, no, that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that, he said, quote, Deacon Jones would be rotating in his grave. Then he tried to clarify, it's like, no, I didn't say that he would be rolling in his grave because he's disgusted. I'd say he'd be rolling in his grave because he's going to be so good. Usually when you have folks rolling in your grave, it's because of disappointment. It's not because, wow, home run, Grandpa's rolling in his grave. But here's the kicker, Perry. Here is the kicker. Later in the week when he tried to cover his tracks, in addition to this rolling in his grave nonsense, he says that, I'll tell you what, once he gets out there on the field and lights somebody up and hits somebody good and hard, they're not gonna think he's gay. So all of a sudden, Michael Sam is just, he's out there, he's playing hard, he decleats somebody, he's like, ah, then he gets back to the huddle, and then all of a sudden he's like, all of a sudden, Michael Sam is, looking at the tight ends on the field. I mean, come on, Pop. Come on, Michael Sr. Seriously?
A couple of things. From a dad's standpoint, that conversation is going to make you step back for a moment. It is, just from a dad's standpoint. Now,
sure.
You may totally embrace your child after that, but for a moment, you got to step back and regroup. So I kind of get where the dad is. On the other hand, it's important that we as a society know that although this is the first openly gay guy, this isn't the first gay guy.
No. And there have been others who have, Ezra Tualo and other guys who come out after their career is over with, when there's nothing on the table. Right. But yeah, no, not the first.
And I think what you're going to see is now that Michael Sams has crossed that threshold, you're going to see current roster NFL players join him in this profession. And them professing that they are also gay.
Right, and it's just like, get it over with, get it out the way. I think it's going to be a good thing overall. I really do.
I'm not exactly... See, this is what concerns me about this issue is the Ted Wells' report that came out on the Miami Dolphins and the culture. That's what concerns me, because if Michael Samms is in the Miami Dolphins locker room last year, based on the report that I read yesterday and this morning, the 44-page report, he would have caught a tremendous amount of criticism in that locker room.
I think anybody that does not have a double-digit IQ playing in that Miami Dolphins locker room would have caught an incredible amount of flack.
But it didn't seem like that. Based on the report, there's racial slanderous statements made by 3 of the Miami Dolphins linemen.
Right.
There are also homophobic statements made by these 3 guys. And what sent Jonathan Martin over the edge,
right,
what sent him over the edge was the constant sexual comments made about his mom and his sister.
Yeah, and that should be enough to send anyone. You know, the 2 things that happen, you either pop somebody in the mouth, which I think is a bad idea. I think that can lead to some bad things. Of course, it could stop the problem right then and there, or he will turn it inward on himself, and he did. And look what. And I think Jonathan Martin does have some emotional issues, notwithstanding.
And they say that in the report. He not only emotional issues, he's had battles with mental issues.
Yeah. So, but that's a cocktail for catastrophe. But here's the thing: the grown-ups on that team, the veteran players, the quarterback, Ryan Tannehill, Joe Philbin.
I'm shocked at Pounce.
I'm not. This is a knucklehead on the free Aaron Hernandez bandwagon. When Aaron Hernandez, they went to the University of Florida together, and he and his brother Quincy got these free Aaron Hernandez T-shirts when the evidence is just piling up to the ceiling. By the way, coming up in about 12 minutes, we have Noel Jackson, Music Satisfaction, coming up on 96.9 FM WHYR LP Baton Rouge Community Radio. But it really is disturbing and sickening to me. And I hope that one thing I'll say though, Roger Goodell don't play. Roger Goodell protects that shield at all costs, and this foolishness, you're going to see it go away quickly.
Because what they have to emphasize is that locker room is the workplace.
Right.
And imagine in your workplace you having to endure some of these comments and things just are totally unprofessional.
No, it is. I mean, even for this machismo, macho, beat the crap out of your opponent culture, this is ridiculous. Richie Incognito, I think, might have, if he hasn't played his last NFL game, it's coming. He's a talented offensive guard, but he's been kicked out of 2 universities. The Rams ran him out of town for this nonsense. He's been voted dirtiest player in the league in those player surveys repeatedly, and it's just more Richie Incognito. Good riddance to bad rubbish.
Now, you fans, this is what you're going to have to do. You're going to have to understand that the NFL is changing. Not only is it changing based on its injuries and its concussions, but it's also going to have to change now that you have people like Michael Samms that are openly out. So you're going to see culture changing on NFL teams, not only in the locker rooms, but on the field as well. You're going to see culture changes.
I think it's going to be a microcosm of Jackie Robinson. Unlike the only thing with Robinson, I don't think the fans and opposing coaches are going to overtly jeer him, but I do think you get, mostly supported from his teammates. I think most normal, decent human beings on other teams will be cool. He'll have a couple of knuckleheads, and then after the next guy and the next guy come out, it's going to be like Major League Baseball was, where it is what it is.
It is what it is. It'll be just as much of a story as someone being left-handed.
Exactly. Couple of quick NFL notes. Oh, whoa. Let's. I'll do some quick NFL notes and then jump into another NFL story. The New Orleans Saints cut Roman Harper, Will Smith, and Jabari Greer, all longtime members of the Saints, all members of the 2009 Super Bowl 44 championship-winning team, and they also announced that they will not re-sign Jonathan Vilma. I think his career is probably over. He's had problems with that degenerative knee for 2 straight seasons now. But those guys are cut. Harper was an obvious cap casualty. His $6 million was too much for that. They might try to re-sign Jabari Greer and Will Smith to lower salaries. We'll find out. And Doug Williams, Louisiana native, the Washington Redskins announced that he will be executive over player personnel. So Grambling University fired him. They're bad because the NFL wants him back.
Yeah,
so
there's always a place in the NFL for Doug Williams. If not with the Redskins, with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, there's always a place. We didn't get into any basketball today, but first, I mean, as far as pro basketball, with the All-Star game being in New Orleans. But first, we've got to talk about Darren Sharper. Say it ain't so, Darren Sharper.
Darren.
Say it ain't
shame on you. We got some theme music for you, baby.
132 in Bush. I got him at gunpoint.
Bad boys, what you gonna do?
Former New Orleans safety Darren Sharper is accused of drugging and raping at least 7 women in 4 states. The latest accusation surfaced the day that the prosecutors in Los Angeles charged him with 2 previously alleged rapes in that city and requested his bail be set at $10 million.
$10 million.
$10 million. Here's what they're saying that Darren Sharper does. He goes out to nightclubs. He puts a drug that is very similar to the drug Ambien in a female's drink. It instantly renders her uneligible.
Is it GHB? Is that what he's using?
I forget the
Rohypnol.
I forget the
I'm
name
sorry,
of
my
it,
bad.
but
My bad.
It's real. They classify it as being similar to Ambien, and the young ladies almost instantly become unaware of what's going on. They've woken up the next morning in his bed, feeling like they have been raped.
Well, we got a guest on the hotline who wanted to comment on that story real quick, a former Saints coach.
And I'll say this, those are some sick people. Mentally sick.
So, there are even 2 cases out of New Orleans where he supposedly has taken advantage of some women that he has drugged. So, if he's convicted of these crimes, he's going to do some serious time in jail. Darren Sharper, the ex-New Orleans Saints, Super Bowl...
Super Bowl 44.
Yeah, he was an intricate part of that.
Borderline Hall of Famer.
I don't know about that.
Over 60 interceptions, 13 years in the league.
I mean, he had a historic career.
Yeah.
He did. And he was somewhere before the Saints. Where was
he was with Green Bay.
Yeah.
And he was with Minnesota immediately before. I believe he was with the Super Bowl winning team in Green Bay back in the mid-'90s, but I could be wrong. But Green Bay, Minnesota, part of some good teams.
Right. So it's just sad to hear, and that's part of that NFL culture that Roger Goodell is trying to change, and part of that culture that I think you're going to see gradually wane out in the NFL.
And I'll say this, those are some sick people.
Sick. So, the thing is, Perry, it's part of that mindset. I think you look at Darren Sharper, this is a nice-looking guy, famous, and you have some people that might only think towards the end of their noses and think, well, I don't understand, he can get women anytime. It's not about women, it's about him being sick in the head. To have the mentality to do something like that. Guy like that doesn't need to work hard to get women. This is because he wants to be controlling, take advantage, and so he has to shame on him.
But you know what, though, Eric? There are women out there that would probably love to be controlled by Darren Sharper.
Right, exactly. That's exactly right. And that goes to say it's not about sex. It's about him being sick, and he needs help. And if these allegations are true, we have to wait for it to play out in court, yada yada. But if they're true, he's going to get the help he needs. And good luck to you. Anyway. Meanwhile, we do have the NBA All-Star Game coming up in the Crescent City down in New Orleans. The kind of NBA basketball is fascinating because really it kind of comes on in waves. You have opening night, which is late October, early November. You have Christmas Day, which kind of sort of kicks off the season. Then you have the All-Star break, which is always shortly after the Super Bowl, and that's really when I think the NBA truly takes center stage. Well, I'll tell you what, the King, LeBron James, gave us a warm-up earlier this week in a battle against a Western Conference opponent, Golden State. The Miami Heat trailed by 2 points in the final seconds, and the King had to give everybody a reminder of who's the King.
Interesting. No shot clock. You need one stop. Do you send multiple players at LeBron? Down to 5. Down to 3.
Make somebody else beat you.
A three on the way. He got it!
Make somebody else beat you. Take the ball out of his hands.
The game is over.
Yes, it is.
You cannot secure an attempted shot inside of 0.3 of a second by rule. They didn't double LeBron James. They didn't send a second defender. And they let the greatest player in the game take
LeBron James, and I wish I could have found, I searched high and low, but the local radio broadcast in Miami, the guy just lost it. He said, LeBron James with ice cold blood freezing in his veins. It was priceless, folks. If you watch ESPN Sports Center, you hear it, but
LeBron straight up top, down to three. LeBron, the three ball, got it! LeBron with 0.1 second left. Hits it from downtown. That is cold, freezing, ice-chilled blood in his veins. Oh my goodness! What a shot as King James crowns Golden State. My goodness! LeBron, as the clock runs down, 0.1 left.
I'll tell you, LeBron led his team into the All-Star week only the way LeBron could. So I'm looking forward to the All-Star game. I'm looking forward to some of the festivities tonight. And I'm looking forward at the balance of this NBA season.
Paul Millsaps, ex-Louisiana Tech star, will play in the All-Star game tonight. He is currently a forward for the Atlanta Hawks.
Okay.
So he did his college career at the Louisiana Techsters. And
he played for the Jazz for a hot second, didn't he?
He did.
Yeah,
yes,
okay.
He did. Yes, he did. Other folks that All-Star, well, I won't get into this, but out of Louisiana, Bob Love played in the All-Star game. Southern University graduate, used to play for the Chicago Bulls. Played in the All-Star game from 71 to 74.
Awesome.
Karl Malone.
Oh, yeah.
Played in several All-Star games from 89 and 93.
The mailman.
Robert Parrish, also from Louisiana. Shaquille O'Neal, Calvin Nat, Bob Pettit, Willis Reed. Frank Bryan played in the first two All-Star games. Joe Dumars, Danny Granger, Elvin Hayes, all Louisiana natives that played in the All-Star game. Well, Shaquille's not a Louisiana native, but everyone's familiar with his ties to Louisiana.
Oh, he's tied to Louisiana. We got some ballers here in the Boot State. A couple of quick notes on the Diamond. In Major League, first of all, really quick, in college baseball, LSU played UNO last night to start the season. Aaron Nola was a beast. He was an animal. He was a monster in the mirror. LSU won 2-0 at the box. He did plunk a few batters. He needs to get a little, don't want to be like Charlie Sheen in Major League and start crushing and plunking folks, but nonetheless, Aaron Nola, enjoy him this year because I think he'll be in the pros next year. Today, the teams will meet again, but this time it'll be at Zephyr Field in Metairie, Louisiana at 2 p.m. today. That game will be on Cox Sports Television. Ron Maestri back on the bench for the first time since the 1980s. He led UNO to the College World Series in 1984, first Louisiana team to make it to Omaha. And Derek Jeter, the captain, has announced that 2014 will be his last season in Major League Baseball. So you can imagine the farewell tour is going to be like a parade for Derek Jeter.
And Lance Berkman, mentioning Zephyr Stadium earlier.
That's
Lance
right.
Berkman, who I saw play as a AAA player for the New Orleans Zephyrs, has ended his career and is officially done. Thank you, Lance Berkman.
Very long career with the Houston Astros, played with the St. Louis Cardinals and Texas Rangers last year. I always called him Fat Elvis the last 5 years because he gained all kinds of weight, couldn't play in the outfield, but he was still just awesome. So, it's always that time again. Noel Jackson with Music Satisfaction coming up in just a moment here on 96.9 FM, WHYR LP, Baton Rouge Community Radio. And like we always say around this time,
ADT, JNS, love you.
Have a good afternoon.
Protect us.